to the second installment of Kevin Pollak's Chat Show. I'm very excited. We had some folks in here from Stickcam that did some work, and you know what they did, it looks like to me? They screwed up, and now the picture's all herky-jerky again, which we spent 3 hours last week removing that problem. So these fellas came by and said, oh yeah, we're with the company that you're streaming live on. We'll take care of this. And is it just me, or do we have the herky-jerky thing? No, it's gone. All right. That, my friends, is Jewish insecurity. Welcome once again to Kevin Pollak's Chat Show. I am indeed Chat Show. Nope, Kevin Pollak. We got some great guests today. I'm very excited. There's several things I want to get to. First off, why are we here? Let's start with that particular thing. I want to thank each and every damn one of you who have joined us. The first thing you should know, as we pointed out at least 7 times last week, we're not ready. We're really not. It's a grassroots kind of thing. We're just jumping in head first into the shallow end, and you can all imagine how much that hurts, because it does. But we're getting, from the live chat show, chat room, we're getting all of your immediate response, like my microphone's too hot, and why is the shiny thing happening in the right corner of the screen. Whatever you're helping us with, it's really making a big difference. And I do want to point one thing out. We're not ready. So 6 weeks ago this coming Tuesday, I never know how that works, Jason Calcana sat me down here at the home office of Mahalo.com and said, you're on Twitter.com. And I said, who are you again? And he said, you'll have about 1,000 followers in the first week. You'll see, it'll be great. After the first week, there were like 17,000 followers. And I don't know what that means. I'm just getting excited. I have 17,000 followers. Do I start making the Kool-Aid now? I sit here in front of you with 164,000 followers 6 weeks later, and I still don't know what the hell that means. But I was thinking, let's find out. What the hell? We have a barn, we have costumes. Let's throw up a little show. The idea of the show kind of been floating around in my head for about a year. Wasn't sure in what milieu I would present it. And then this world kind of exploded in my face. Next thing I knew, I had a YouTube channel, Capo345. Why Capo? I'll tell you. J-Lo is the shit. This ain't your daddy's talk show. Let's start there. They haven't figured out a way to censor the internet yet, so I can say shit. I'm not going to throw it, up there every 2 seconds. I'm not going to cram it down your throat, but there it is. You know what else I can do? How you like that? Was that creepy? Because it was for me. Okay, so here's the exciting thing. We have a larger chat room. This is one of the things we fixed thanks to you. Last week we had like 3 lines in the chat room, people asking questions, and the chat jockeys couldn't possibly isolate those questions fast enough, because one of the great things that I wanted this show to do is to involve your questions, not only for me, but for the guests as well. When I glance away like this, I'm looking at a laptop. Oh yeah, it's an Apple. Don't get pushy. And I know Apple doesn't give shit away free, so I can mention it all I want. I don't expect anything out of it. We want your questions, and we want them all the way through the entire show, which last week ran 2 hours. I swear it won't go that long this time. We're going to try to keep it just under 62 minutes. But I have such great guests today that, just saying, it might go 6 hours. So only 200 people at a time can actually get into the chat room even now. And then you'll line up in a queue. There's a waiting room. Twitter.com, where it all started, is the other place. If you go to @KevinPollak and ask any question you want, someone is standing by, that someone being Jamie, and she's sitting in front of the monitor, and she's going to chat jockey the Twitter.com action. As you remember some of the names from last week, we have Professor Crute manning the TriCaster. Go to the 2-shot, Crute, just to get the sense of me and the loneliness of the table. How's that feel, everybody? Huh? Are you digging it? I know I am. All right. A couple things I wanted to get to. Obama, God bless him. I'm very excited about this. I am. I'm mostly excited that the religious right has not chosen our president for the first time in 8 years. My excitement starts there, and then it sort of builds. Although I am looking forward to the W Library. Who isn't? Just to see those giant crayons. That's going to be awesome. I'm pretty sure when you walk in, you hear king, cling, king, cling, king, cling, king, cling. So we have ourselves a new president, and we saw at the inaugurational ball, we saw he and the First Lady dance. And as I mentioned last week, and it's worth repeating, I like that moment because that was when Obama, all Obama's white came out, and then his First Lady, his wife, had to bust a move to kind of cover for him. I thought that was pretty sweet, too. He was asked about legalizing marijuana, and it turned into a three-ring circus by a lot of the media, not the least of which is my dear friend Bill Maher, who I love and think the world of. Bill went shithouse crazy on Obama about not knowing what the internet was, or not trusting, rather, what the internet was. Of course, Bill wasn't accusing Obama of not knowing what it was. Do we have a clip first of Obama we can throw up to see what he said, what he actually said? J-Mac, is that possible? Just say yes or no.
Yes.
All right. It's a yes. So we're going to see that momentarily, and then, yep. I'm sorry to say we could not get clearance on that particular clip, or any others that we've ever shown on the show. So 3.5 million people asked the question through the internet, is pot going to get legalized? And how do you feel about it? And Obama pointed out that so many people had written in, and he wanted to make sure that question was addressed. Let's not forget that. It was kind of on him to address the question or not, and he chose to address it. And then he said, makes you curious about, the folks on the internet. The exact phrasing of that is crystal clear to me, how he put it, as you just saw, that he wasn't questioning what was going on the internet, which seems to be one of Bill Maher's big stinks, as we will now see what Bill had to say about it. And then, of course, it also seemed crystal clear that Obama was saying legalizing pot is not the answer to the economy. That's kind of all he was saying, which is a pretty slick way of saying, you've shoved me into this corner, and the only answer I can give you right now is that we're not today going to legalize pot. I'd love it if I should go on record for saying if pot was legalized just for the tax money alone, quite frankly, and then, of course, the crime element, which evaporates. So I'm all in favor of it. I should make that clear. And but I didn't understand why Bill went absolutely ballistic. That it seems like any opportunity, the first opportunity, in fact, that Obama trips over himself is going to get leapt on, because people are kind of waiting and they're hoping. I mean, I know what the right press is doing. They're having, interesting, what the right press is doing, they're having a field day with it. Whatever happens. But it's Bill who's well, he represents his beliefs well enough. If you watch his show, you know how he stands or sits. And so I would love to know what you think about first what Obama said and then Bill's reaction, because I was kind of stupefied, quite frankly, by Bill's reaction. So I'm going to put that out there. That's the first thing I want to put out to you, you, the viewers. I mentioned last week we have contests. I'm going to reiterate those now, if I may. 3 degrees of Kevin Pollak. What the hell is Bacon's problem? Why does he need 6 degrees, that puss? Write in anyone to the chat room or twitter.com at Kevin Pollak. And pick anyone from show business that's been in front of the camera, and I'll get there in 3 degrees. That's a promise. If I fail, if I break that promise, this, not that you want it, is yours. You can sell it if you don't want it. I get about 20 bones for them. You can get 10 probably on eBay in about 3 seconds. Maybe 8. The point is it's clean, hard cash that's yours. If you can stump me on the 3 degrees of Kevin Pollak. Another way that you can earn one of those and also much bigger prizes You heard the theme music at the top of the show? I hope you did, because I didn't have it here. It's kind of cool. It's kind of jazzy. I dig it. But I'd like you to write the theme song to this show. Anyone out there who wants to submit a 30-second music clip, original. That gets creepy, doesn't it? Original music composed by you. No lyrics. Just give me some tunes, man. I want to use it. If I can find a great one each week, I'll throw it up there and we'll find ourselves the permanent one. But it's your show. It's called the Kevin Pollak Chat Show, but it's your show, so write the music. Submit those original music clips for the theme song to, is it still Contact. I'm okay to go. I'm okay to go. I'm okay to go. Contact at kevinpollakschatshow.com. Jodie Foster, you want to start with 3 degrees? I'll get there in 1. Don't make me do it. All right. Upcoming guests. We have 2 amazing guests here today, and I'm going to get to them actually within a nanosecond instead of going a half hour like last week before the guest came out. Chris McQuarrie, who picked up an Oscar at the age of 27 for writing a little opus I like to call The Usual Suspects, although most people when they meet me on the street say, I dug you in The Unusual Suspects. That's actually not the... So he, at 27, picked up an Oscar. Yeah, for that. Imagine. And he's going to come by and sit here on April 19th. I'm very excited about. Doug Benson and Bobby Slayton. We're going to have stand-up comedians hour. They're going to be here on the 12th. The 5th, which is next Sunday, we're still in the process of locking up because I'm desperate to get a female guest. So until we have that in place, I'm going to wait to possibly tweet that information. Jason Antoon, a wonderful character actor who's on a new TV series called Kings, is scheduled for next Sunday. And so we're going to announce that female ASAP. But people like Luke Wilson, Will Arnett, Amy Poehler, John Hamm, John Krasinski, John Favreau, Hank Azaria, Rob Corddry, these people have already said yes, yes, I will be on your stinking little show. And when we get them locked into an actual date, we'll announce that as well. But the response thus far, needless to say, has made me very, very happy from the community. I'm also going out to directors like George Gallo. Did I mention George Gallo? No. He wrote Midnight Run. Yeah. And he wrote and directed a film I did called Middlemen, which is now, as of 3 days ago, we found out, going to debut at the Cannes Film Festival. Suck it! All right? I haven't been there since the debut of The Usual Suspects, so I am greatly looking forward to it. That was only 42 movies ago. Here's the thing about doing a lot of films. Only a couple of them are going to be good. It's a numbers thing. Look at Kirk Douglas's filmography, I dare you. 100 films plus. 17 of them fantastic. All right. Let's go to the chat room for a couple of questions for me, and I'll bring out my first guest. Chat room is blowing up, I am told. Bill Paxton, are you serious? Your shit's weak. It's called Indian Summer. We co-starred together. Next! Paul Lind, I like the cut of your jib. The Bill Paxton question came from D. Margulis 2. D. Margulis 2. Your shit's weak. Good sound came up with Paul Lind. All right, not bad. So I just need to pick someone who did Hollywood Squares with him. Wait, no, he was in. Start rattling off.
Charlotte's Web.
Charlotte's Web, right. Who else was in that? That's the only place I start to stumble if I can't figure out who worked with these people. Bye Bye Birdie, Dick Van Dyke.
And Margaret in The Villain.
And Margaret and he worked together in a movie called The Villain. Thank you, Sam Levine. I worked with Anne Margaret twice in Grumpy Old Men and the geniusly entitled sequel, Grumpier Old Men. Think Tank from Mensa pulled that one out of their ass. And then Santa Claus 3 times I worked with her, I'm sorry. But I don't, I try to avoid Santa Claus 3. But thank you, Sam Levine. So good sound. I think I got there in one handshake, Ann Margaret? One handshake. Next! Tracy Morgan. Metastic asked Tracy Morgan. Again, shit's weak. Did a movie with Tracy. Sorry you missed it. Can't blame you. Piece of crap. Called McCluskey P.I., I think. And I think it went straight to hell. All right. I'm going to bring out my first guest. We'll play some more of these games as we progress. But the bottom line is, if you stump me, my live stand-up CD, A Little Off the Top, is yours. If you can come up with a theme song for the show, I will use it. I will give your band a shout-out. I will plug any project you're working on. I'll show a video of your band. Whatever I can do to help. If you are just a composer, however I can help, I'll threaten now to have you on the show. It probably won't happen. My first guest I saw on David Letterman, I believe, the first time. Might have been Conan O'Brien. It was one of those two. I'll have him clear that up for us. And it was one of those things where, as a stand-up, my whole life, literally since the age of 10, my spider senses tingle when someone just hits it so far you'll never find the ball. Letterman thought so much of this gentleman that he decided to build a TV show around him, as he had for Ray Romano. Then, as time went on, I saw him on Conan O'Brien, and he had become so familiar with Conan that there was suddenly an animated series starring the two of them called Pale Force, I believe. And it just completely and utterly blew my mind. So when this show started to come together and I started to put together my wish list, this gentleman was on the first 10 names, I'll have you know. I'll have him know as he's sitting here now. Because I admire someone who can stand on that stage alone and let their thoughts come forth and take the audience for a ride of their choosing for an hour, 90 minutes, whatever they do. And I understand the ebb and flow and what it takes to craft that. And this guy is also so prolific that it's evolving every year. It seems to be a whole new act. We'll get into that. Please welcome Mr. Jim Gaffigan.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you so much for being here. That's the crew. They love him.
Thank you. They've got good taste.
Now, I'll give you what I promised to give every guest.
Okay.
An opportunity throughout our interview to work on the following, because at the end of the interview, I'm going to ask you to do this.
Okay.
It's called the Larry King game. All right?
Okay.
It's a parting gift, a home game you can play with your friends. It helps to be slightly intoxicated. I'm not going to lie to you.
All right.
The premise of the Larry King game is this. Larry King, God bless him, he's 102.
Yeah.
Hell of a career. So it's my belief that it's only a matter of time before he accidentally shares something about himself on the air that perhaps he shouldn't.
Yes.
So when it's your turn to play the Larry King game, you must do a bad Larry King impression. That's kind of the good news.
Okay.
That's everyone.
Okay.
If it's a good Larry King impression, it doesn't count.
Okay.
You lose. So it has to be a bad Larry King impression. The worse, the better.
Okay.
Then reveal something about yourself as Larry King that no one should know, as if you're on the air.
Okay.
And then the third step is to go to the phones. And when you go to the phone, the name of the city, it helps if it's funny sounding.
Right.
I'll give you an example, so you really have an idea. Thanksgiving, I like to teabag the gravy boats before the guests arrive. Milpitas, California, hello. All right. That is as good or bad as it gets. So no pressure, and you have the next 20 plus minutes to work on that.
Okay.
Tonight, in 40 minutes, Coast to Coast.
Coast to Coast.
Is the debut of, which special is this? Your stand-up comedy, so third, fifth, 10th?
Third.
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 Okay. How long in preparation did you work on most of the material?
Well, you know, I would say about 2.5 years, but I mean, I'm an observational guy, so it's not like Cheney can shoot someone and I can get, you know, I'm always jealous of like Lewis Black, you know, it's like someone shot someone, he's got 10 minutes.
Right.
So, you know, when you're talking about like ketchup or the truly mundane. You're like, maybe I can make a glass of water funny. And then I'll, work on it for a bit, and a lot of times there's nothing there. But so it takes some time, but I really kind of went into obsession mode like the last 6 months leading up to it. And, it's I wish there was some magic. I mean, you as a comedian, you know it. It's like if there was just some formula like, all right, all I have to do is drink a Diet Coke and then start typing, and it just comes out.
And how are you facing the blank page? How does that work for your process? For me, I stopped carrying around a dictaphone. I stopped recording my sets, which is really stupid. And every time I thought of something funny, I would tell a few people, and if they laughed, it got into the act. What is your process?
My process is very much, I'm married to a very funny woman who, people will give me a suggestion. Like my manager said, you're kind of a lazy guy. Hammocks. And so then my wife and I will just talk about hammocks, and there's a couple of minutes on hammocks. I don't know if it's in the special, but it's on the DVD. And so there's different things that I'll write down. The kernels of something like,
bullet points?
Like the whole idea of like soup in a bread bowl. Like I don't have a joke on it, but it's kind of like bouncing around up there.
There should be a joke on it.
I
think it baffles everyone.
Yeah, it's just weird, and so it's kind of a situation where something will kind of float around, and sometimes you'll just hit gold. And for me, I like to obsess on a topic and really kind of get it from every angle. Like just really pick the meat off the bone. And
literally, you're a bit of a foodie.
I'm
admitted.
I am a foodie, and after my last special, I was like, all right, no more food jokes. I don't want to be the food comic.
Too late.
And it's involuntary. It's
absurd. First of all, food. Most of it, it's absurd.
It's absurd, and it's definitely universal.
Oh boy.
There's no. You don't have to explain a lot. You don't have to worry about a certain segment of the audience being kind of like offended or hypersensitive to it. So it's there's something beautiful about food, and obviously you write. If you write about things you're passionate about, it really kind of flows. So.
Now I think we have a clip loaded up from King Baby, which debuts tonight, coast to coast, at 6 o'clock West Coast, 9 o'clock East Coast. Please do the rest of the math on your own. Do we have it? And is this the one that has something to do with pork? Yep. Is there anything you want to say? Should we just roll it and then talk after?
I think it's just one of the more beautiful foods on this planet, which is bacon. And God bless the Orthodox Jews that cannot enjoy bacon. I feel for them.
Right. My family's so Reformed Jew that we're Catholic, so I've eaten bacon my entire life. So let's please roll the clip starting now. No clip. Sorry. Couldn't get the clearance. Sorry about the herky-jerky delivery of that particular video.
I'm, normally not even that animated. That helped. That helped my performance style.
Does it inspire you to perhaps... Because it was a Mr. Roboto kind of animation.
I'm a low-energy guy. I'm like somebody who has to... some people have to calm down before they go on stage. I have to drink like Red Bull.
Just to get through the set?
It's just... I'm a low-energy guy.
When did... I started at 10... Which is crazy.
You did not start at 10.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't paid for it, but I was performing in front of strangers.
Wow.
First at the Passover meals for the family, and then quickly segued into at school.
I'm always so jealous of the people that, because it seems like so many bar mitzvahs, it's like so many comics are like, well, I killed it my bar mitzvah, and I got
7
hooked.
applause breaks.
I got hooked. It's like a friendly audience. For me, I came from... a family, there was no performance background. Not that that's that rare, but it was, 6 or 7 generations just to get to the middle class. Finally, my dad went to college. So the whole notion of going into to be a show person was, it's like announcing you wanted to live on the moon. It seemed kind of like, you're kidding, obviously. And so
You started thinking about it before you announced it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I studied finance in college. It was just very security, kind of like, well, how can I avoid the Great Depression, unemployment lines, but it was something that I secretly wanted to do. I mean, this is before Comedy Central and everything. It just seemed like a pipe dream. And
Did you tell anyone?
yeah, I kind of expressed it to people, but it was because you're the funny person at some party or at the at some job site or whatever, and but it finally it just got to a point where I was waiting for someone to dare me to do it.
Right.
So I was doing improv, and someone was like, "Hey, I heard there's some comedy. I'll do it. All right." It's like I barely needed a nudge.
But it was literally waiting for someone else to.
Yeah, because I couldn't.
Right. Couldn't justify it.
I couldn't be kind of like, I want to try this.
Wouldn't be accepted.
I needed someone to blame.
Okay. I like that. And what age was that?
I guess that was 23, 24.
All right, and then we jumped to your first paid gig.
First paid gig. Well, there's a lot of bad gigs, but first paid gig, being an MC.
Where?
Geez, I want to think maybe Poughkeepsie, Bananas.
Okay.
And it going, just horribly wrong.
By the way, for those of you watching, Poughkeepsie, not the name of the club.
Yeah.
I know you'd think something.
Oh, yeah. So Poughkeepsie Bananas, probably. Sorry.
No. Just the name of clubs. This is forever our enjoyment.
Snickers, Snack House. All these crazy.
I think Dana Gould has the best fake name.
Which one's his?
Uncle Fuck's Chuckle Hutch.
Oh, I thought there was. Or just like calling the place Hecklers.
Right.
So. Yeah.
Tell me just one or two, whatever comes to mind, of the sort of worst gigs, because these are always such good stories.
Well, there's some pretty. This is a classic example of, Long Island. There's the Northeast. I call the Northeast corridor, Boston to Philly. There's a certain kind of. Some people call it, the Acela corridor, but like for comedians, it's kind of the corridor of hate. It's like the commerce of comedy is kind of like, rough and tumble, blue collar kind of. And I go on stage when I was starting, in Brooklyn. They're like, "Who is John Tesh doing stand up now?" Being so white bread, but and so there's some tough rooms, and even after I had kind of. I remember one time I was headlining in Long Island at Governor's, which is now run by a fantastic guy, John Truson, who's a comic who knows the world. And but Governor's could be rough and tumble. Long Island can be rough and tumble,
especially years ago.
Yeah, and so I was up there and I was headlining, and I got on stage, and being from the Midwest, and late show on a Friday night, you never know what you're gonna get.
Worst.
So I get on stage, I start getting some laughs, and with every laugh, there would be a moo, moo, and I'm like, all right, hey, I'm the Midwestern guy, they're mooing me. And I didn't necessarily understand it, so I did some responses, and usually you can get, once you get the audience on your side, the heckler will stop. Mm-hmm. But it continued on, moo, moo, and so finally, I couldn't see the guy. So finally, I get off stage, and I'm like, "Where is this guy?" Because the audience isn't even necessarily on my side. I'm not the type of comic that's going to get off stage. And so I get off stage, and I go back and kind of, as far as I could see, and I saw a guy who was severely handicapped.
Oh God!
With like a keyboard and kind of like a thing, and how he communicated was woo, moo. So I was criticizing this guy over my entire show.
The audience knew that he was...
And the audience knew, and I was like, and I just announced, I go, I'm just going to go kill myself now. And so the audience, once they realized that I was unaware that he was severely handicapped, they kind of forgave me. But
the all-important information.
Yeah, that's always, one of the gems that sticks out in your mind, where you're like, if you can't see the person, that might be how they respond.
Do you remember when your introduction is overly important because... You're very insecure about your act, so you actually make such a fine point about what the MC is going to say, how he introduces you, because you want the audience's attention. Oh, this guy may be somebody we should listen to.
Oh, yeah.
Setting the importance of the introduction.
Yeah.
I'm in the kitchen of a restaurant that has comedy night in the early stages of mine, and I'm waiting for that all-important introduction, and instead of it, this is what I hear. Ladies and gentlemen, we're out of Thousand Island, and now here's...
Oh, that's great.
That happened.
I was so desperate. I started in the early 90s where essentially the initial comedy boom where, Evening at the Improv.
It was dead by 92, 93.
It was dead.
Yeah.
And so literally when I started, along with some friends, it was kind of like signing up to be like a phonograph repairman. People were like, are you sure you want to do this? So there was no stage time, so I would do poetry readings. I would do just about any place I could perform. I was dealing with a lot of stage fright too, so I knew that I had to just kind of do it to get it over with. And there was also like New Jack City had just come out, so there was comedy rooms in Harlem, these New Jack comics, so new comics. And I was kind of like, well, all right, I'll go up there. And I remember I was being introduced. It was not my room. I know I look like I'm more than this hip hop exterior, but so like I was being introduced, and the guy was like, "All right, our next comic's a white guy." Boo!
Literally said, our next comic's a white guy.
Yeah. Well, some of it there's a lot of comics that have more of like street credentials that they can use the fact that they're white in an urban setting. And he was like, and this guy's really white, and it was just like double boo, and I was like, I was literally up there for like 5 seconds, and they're like, just all this, people were just like, no, we're not even gonna try, you know what I mean? This is just wow. So there was a lot of moments like that where you just gotta plow through it and go, all right.
Yeah.
And there were plenty of comics that could have pulled it off, but not a slow talking Midwestern guy that talks about manatees and bacon.
And who moves on stage like a robot, as we saw in the video. Where I would be strung up in the town square if I didn't ask. What is the genesis? That's my interviewer journalistic way of asking, what is the deal with the secondary voice that represents the audience? Now, I from a fellow professional's point of view, I should inform that to give extra credit here is my interest. In fact, it's one of the things that blows my mind, how great it is that when you do it. That this padding, if you will, has been around as a device for quite a long time, used by others to varying degrees. Never has it become a signature, has it become, beyond reinventing the wheel, it has part and parcel to, I think, the reason people come to these sellout shows at these theaters that you're now performing in. What is the deal?
It's
the genesis, how it started.
It's definitely an aspect of my personality, talking for other people to alleviate any awkwardness. Say if I'm running late, I mean my wife, because initially I would say in interviews, I would say, well, I was performing at these performance art spaces on the Lower East Side, and I would do these characters, which I did, which were older ladies that were very dissatisfied, and just there would be improvised characters. And my wife was like, "That it's totally part of your personality." Where like if I was running late, you cut the tension by like just going, "Jim, I can't believe you're late. I told you to be here at 4, and you get here at 4:55." And it's like, that's kind of messing me up, And so
your wife can't really say that now.
It's just an effective tool to kind of
diffuse.
And stand-up's very much a conversation. So if I talk for the audience, say I'm, doing, 10 minutes on bacon, if halfway through I acknowledge that they're aware that I'm going long, then then there's some humor. It's a familiarity, and it's an acknowledgement of it. But
it also organically brings them into the experience 1,000-fold. You already had their attention.
Yeah.
They were already in your rhythm.
Yeah.
In your own voice. And then once you start representing their thoughts, they simply could not be more a part of your show.
Yeah, and I think there's, as a writer, it's great to have an additional point of view.
Yeah.
So it's like I have this, this lazy guy who doesn't want to get off the couch. The inside voice can be
or
the
coach, because I've seen you drink a few times.
Or the it gives the opportunity for the opposite point of view.
Right.
And so, but it is strange. It's, every comedian knows that kind of bagging on your own material, while Carson used it so effectively, it really is the insecurity
Yes.
in stand-up comedy is usually, it's like suicide. It's
Yeah.
just, I don't know why you do it. And it took me a fair amount of times of it not working, because if an audience thinks that you don't have confidence in your performance of your jokes, then they're not going to have confidence. So
right.
it's a weird thing, but I also love it because it has this improvisational element where I can address, I can talk about these evergreen topics, and then depending on the city I'm in, I can work in how it might tie into that. Like if I'm in, Louisville and I'm talking about fried chicken, the inside voice can be like, I can't believe he's not talking about KFC. I mean, we are KFC. You know what I mean? Or if you're in Boston, it's like, dude, I can't believe this guy's bagging on Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' Donuts, we love Dunkin' Donuts.
Right.
I'm going to kick his ass, And so there is something. And every comedian, this, every comedian, you look out
Yes.
when you're doing a show, and
Yes.
you could be killing.
Yes.
There's always a couple of eyes that are just like, you don't know where they are, but you have to interpret. It's like acting. You have to sit there, and you're listening to their eyes.
Why is it always the guy in the front row that's sitting like this, by the way?
There's always one guy that's
Did they just bring this guy in?
yeah.
Or does he say, sit me in the front? I hate this guy.
Yeah.
Put me in the front.
Yeah.
Because I always see that guy,
Yeah.
and I want him dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, is it something, like I was saying, a lot of my material is sort of born on stage from just a few ideas that I will bounce off my friends, and then it really takes form on stage the first time. The audience's voice, I'm sorry, I'm not going to get off this topic just yet, because I don't think I'm the only one fascinated by this. Did it come to fruition on stage? Was it something you actually sat down and crafted, or you threw it out there a few times initially and saw the immediate response that it got, and then it started to develop and grow and became a fungus?
There were, but let me set this up. I mean, there were so many years where I was so terrified when I was on stage. Like that whole task of getting your personality on stage was something. But, I was...
You're at the top of your game right now, and you're still not comfortable on stage. That's the sense that I get. You're in control. You know exactly what the hell you're doing, but you'd kind of rather not be there.
Well,
it's
for me, it's... for a creative person, I look at actors and I go, the immediate feedback of stand-up comedy, whether you're a writer or a performer,
unbeatable.
It's just, it's like, it's amazing that when you hear about a comedian, it's like, I wrote a screenplay. It's like,
why?
Don't you get immediate feedback on ideas? And you write a screenplay and you hand it to someone, and then 3 months later they're like, yeah, he's going on vacation, he's going to read it. But
he's got it with him in his bag.
Yeah, but the inside voice was definitely, there's certain rooms, like the DC Improv.
Oh yeah.
And there's certain cities like Minneapolis and Seattle where or San Francisco, the more eccentric you are.
Yes. That's where I'm from, and they love that.
Yeah, it's kind of strange because I am kind of a topic observational guy, but there's a very kind of eccentric side. When I started, there wasn't the underground room.
No.
Or there was, or these alternative rooms. They came later on. So but to answer your question, the inside voice kind of came out of just having so much fun on stage in certain rooms, and even Gotham in New York, was one of these rooms where, the audience was going to be of a certain, like they wanted it interesting. Now alternative rooms, they want it interesting. They want it kind of challenging. And theater shows are obviously such a blast. It's just like, I mean, it doesn't get much better than that in my view. It's
No,
like you're in a historic theater.
Right.
People that paid to come and see you. You don't have to worry about the guy that's like, yeah, I was just at Burger King. I guess I'll come in here.
Right.
So it's just amazing.
Yeah.
So.
Let's go to the folks, see what kind of questions they're going to offer up, because as you probably heard me going on and on about, I want this to be their show as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is something that kind of comes up on most talk shows. Letterman asks this a lot, and it is, well, let's see. I mean, I do like these conversations. Horrible jobs prior to stand-up, not in the industry of any kind. Sort of that last memory of, oh, God, what if that's what I was doing now?
Yeah, you know, my day jobs, I kept my day job a lot longer than other peers or,
Right.
you know, like stand-up comedy. There's kind of these mini kind of generations or classes and stuff like that.
Right.
And some of that was, but I worked in advertising as a copywriter, and
Well, that's a great job.
yeah, you
I
know,
mean, for someone who's going to be writing, or did you feel stifled by the client?
it's a little bit, you
or
know.
am I just mesmerized by Mad Men?
Yeah, I think it's some of that.
Yeah.
I mean, advertising, I learned a lot from it. Nice people, you know, creative people, but there's something about, again, it's like being a stand-up, having that control of writing, directing, performing, it's lost when you know you're writing a commercial and then it goes up the chain of people to sign off on something. So there is some creative fulfillment that you'd think would be in advertising that I didn't necessarily find, but I got amazing tools in it. But there's also something about, you know, it's kind of strange because, you know, I worked in advertising and I was kind of trying to get laid off, but advertising is like one of the one business world jobs where if you are an eccentric individual, it's almost kind of a sign of creativity. So I would come in a little late, or I'd be sleeping in my room, and they'd be like, "That Gaffigan guy's creative."
He's crazy.
And I was like trying to get laid off in some ways. But I don't know, like really bad jobs. I wasn't somebody that had a ridiculous job, like just shoveling shit for 3 days and then had to quit. You know, it
didn't follow the elephant with the
yeah.
People constantly are asking me or complimenting on you started out in stand-up comedy and now you're such a credible actor. And the question comes up, why aren't more comedians acting in films and have a dramatic acting career?
Yeah.
Because a handful of them are unbelievably good. And people seem so shocked by that.
Yeah.
There's an argument on both sides of it for me,
Yeah.
which is, and one of the things you touched on, for we who stand alone on stage and enjoy the abject fulfillment of being the writer, the editor, the choreographer, the director, the producer, and the performer.
Yeah.
The idea of listening in a scene as an actor is counterintuitive to our programming.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really interesting topic because I think there's something about, first of all, I mean, I'm an actor. I really do love acting. I really, it's something that, you know, ever since I was a little kid, and I love the opportunity to be an element in a larger scene.
Yeah.
I get off on that, and I love kind of like the joke's not funny, the situation's funny, and I love, I mean, I just enjoy acting so much. But I do think that, like, you know, being a comedian and going into auditions, it's a little bit kind of like, it's like dragging in some stereotypes that are understandable because some comedians are simply not actors, and some comedians, and they don't have any interest in it. And you know, I feel like I've got a bit of a split personality because when Seinfeld went back to stand up after his TV show, I'm like, people were like, that's so amazing. I'm like, well, of course he does.
Yeah.
It's like, once you're a comedian, you can't stop doing that.
No.
It's like someone's off heroin. It's like, are you really surprised when they go back to it? It's supposed to be amazing. so there's like true comedians, have
It's supposed to be amazing.
They have to do it.
Yes.
And the acting thing I love, but I just think, there's the control thing. I'm all for the notion of someone else writing and someone else. It's just, I'm all for it. I've done, some movies and I've had a blast and stuff like that. It's just, I feel like you've escaped this. You've docked into this in your career a little bit, but you've got such credentials, you don't have to worry about it. But when you're a comedian and you get offers for films, it's usually, for me, it's always kind of like, all right, they're really broad comedies. And my stand-up is, it's very kind of, obvious, observational kind of
But it's
topics.
conversational.
But it's conversational, and it's subtle, and
Yes.
it's dry.
Yes.
And so then they're offering me to be, the ridiculous character. And that's not to say that I don't want to be ridiculous, but I don't want to just do that. So there is a bit of a stereotype that I think that I think Larry Miller's an amazing actor.
Yeah.
And, but there is something, it's kind of like, whoa, us comics, we don't get shots like,
Well, no, it's all relative.
But there is something about, there are some comics that truly love acting but I don't, honestly, I've kind of, I'm 42. I don't have an expectation that I'm going to get a shot at Usual Suspects, honestly. I mean, I would love it.
Well, that shit fell out of the sky.
Yeah, or,
just so
Casino,
you know.
it's like, what, that's, I mean,
Tell me about the Sam Mendes thing. That's all, you
that's,
you couldn't have more street cred than him. What's your
that's amazing.
opportunity
I mean, that's really fun. You know what I mean? It's also like, he's one of those directors where you're like, what does he want me to mow his lawn? I'll do whatever he wants me to do. And
what is that film?
That film is Away We Go, which is John Krasinski and Maya Rudolph and this huge cast. And it's about a couple that is kind of traveling around the U.S. looking for where they want to raise their child. She's pregnant. And they encounter different couples. And, as a parent, it's really fascinating to see these different couples and these different approaches to parenting and the true drama of what's going to happen when you have a kid.
Right.
It's like, you could fuck up this kid's life. You know what I mean? And that's the most I've ever cursed on. And so it's amazing to do something like that. It's, the fact that I got it, it's one of those times where I auditioned for the character. They said, he really likes you, but they're changing the character. And I'm like, well, that means I'm never going to get it.
Right.
But I ended up getting it. Yeah. Wouldn't you immediately, if they rewrite something?
He loves you, but they're going in a different direction.
Yeah.
That's kind of what that sounds like.
Yeah. And so,
in fact, he loves you so much, they're going to completely rewrite the character.
Yeah.
So that you can't possibly do it.
So I play Allison Janney, and I are married in the movie, and we have, we're the couple that's in Phoenix. And, Sam Mendes, it's like there's some people that just, it's a comedy, but it's got, a lot of heart to it. And,
he's all about texture and nuance himself, so that was probably a nice...
And Dave Eggers wrote it. It's just like, it's one of those things where,
How are they going to mess this up?
Yeah, but it is also, comedies, it's just like tone and touch. It's really hard.
Yeah.
It's amazing that movies are good because it's just so hard to do that.
Yeah,
I think.
It's difficult to address that issue with the audience members when they ask, you were in this movie, why would you do that movie? It was so awful.
Yeah.
And you want to try to sit them down and explain that between me reading the script, having gotten the offer, and you seeing the movie, there's 9 million ways for me to get screwed.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. And that is another reason why we continue to go back to stand-up, because this is funny. I'm going to bring it on stage. There you go.
Yeah.
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 We promised to have you up and out of here before your third stand-up comedy special premieres nationwide, if not across the world.
Across the world.
Now, the pre-ordering is on iTunes. When? What's happening? How else are people going to get it other than Comedy Central?
It's on they pre-order it. It's on sale on Tuesday, like in Target and all that stuff.
So
it's so funny. For me to act like I'm not this crazy, ridiculous self-promoter because I've been all over Twitter.
I haven't seen that at all, Jim. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, it's this running. Can I just point something out on Twitter? Let me put this in context.
Mm-hmm.
I am a guy who, as a comedian going to different cities, like I'm going to Fargo,
right.
Facebook and MySpace, it's just it's the best way to reach people. You go, I'm going to Fargo, and you put like a bulletin, or you find them on Facebook. It's amazing, and it keeps, there's all these elements, and Twitter's come into it, and but I'm the guy that has the AOL email address. You know what I mean? It's like I'm that kind of backward. So, there's the Twitter, my manager told me, he goes, you got to do this we follow thing, where it's essentially 3 tags.
I saw when you...
And I go, oh, all right. So I said...
That made Jamie laugh so hard. When you wrote, I am vomiting, or what was it?
No, I said, I have diarrhea. But I had to do that because initially... my manager said, pick the most popular tag. So I put comedian, actor, and celebrity.
You have to pick things and put a little pound sign in front of it.
Yeah, and so I do, I'm a journeyman. Yes. I'm an everyman. And so I put that, and like the Twitter responses was like, celebrity? Really? The guy who's talking about Waffle House is suddenly a celebrity. So it's just, I'm constantly embarrassed.
That's fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
There's something, so that's why it ended up, I ended up joking.
Pound and have pound diarrhea.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
and
but
so
anyway,
that's where
I just
people
thought
will
that was
find
so
you.
funny. The Twitter, just the embarrassment of it all.
So a great Easter gift, obviously.
Oh, well, thanks.
King Baby. Pick yourself up a copy of the DVD.
Yes.
I'm guessing it's also an immediate CD available for purchase.
Yes, yes.
It debuts tonight, and then they'll run it however they run things on Comedy Central, which is sporadic and constant, depending on the day.
Yes, they air it, and then they decide whether they want to continue to air it every
16
week.
Minutes, yeah.
But
well, I think this is going to be in heavy rotation. There's no question about it. You have the kind of following in your stand-up career that while you cast lovely thoughts towards my alleged dramatic street cred, I would I'd give up about 78% of it to be in your shoes in terms of touring right now. You are beloved by your audience, and I am tremendously thrilled for you and unbelievably grateful that you came on the show with me.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been great.
You'll have to come back.
Yes, definitely.
I asked only one question from here, but several of the questions were answered. I don't want everyone to be yelling and screaming. What comedians do you love? Let's just put that one out from Carlia Page, because that's always fascinating to me. Bonita, Jim asked Jim what was next on the calendar. We covered that. So who are some, obviously me, but who are some of the others that you...
this guy, Kevin Pollak, I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
That was a given. We all knew that.
A big influence on me growing up was, like Bill Maher. Not Bill Maher's brilliant, but...
No, we got your honest
Bill Murray
yes.
And David Letterman and Jonathan Winters, definitely huge.
I would think a little bit of Bob Newhart, no?
Bob Newhart, a little bit. I mean,
he specialized in misdirect. I just meant the sort of low energy.
Yeah, he's the Midwestern kind of thing. And then, but starting and developing in New York, Dave Attell was a huge influence on me. And just the efficiency. Carlin in kind of getting a topic and kind of hammering it to death. But, the people that I love to watch are, I think, I get a kick out of watching Todd Glass or Greg Giraldo or Jimmy Dore or Ian Bagg. There's some comics that, like Ian Bagg, that can work a room and you just sit there and you go, it's like a certain kind of, it's amazing. You know what I mean? It's like the guy doesn't need material the way he can work the room. So, but there's I don't know. Louis C.K.'s doing some amazing stuff right now too. So
absolutely.
And Brian Regan's a master too.
Yeah. And his brother Dennis destroys me, too.
Yeah, Dennis, very funny.
Yeah.
The only one lower energy than me.
Right, that's exactly right. And slang at the same time. It's 3 minutes before your show debuts. I want to let you go, but
Yes.
you have to do the Larry King game.
Hi, this is Larry King. I occasionally will wear the same underwear for a month, and then he always has that thing with his, let's go to a caller. Pomonis, Alaska.
There is some, it's Larry King, it is almost beyond surreal. Like
Yeah.
if he was a character on The Simpsons, people would be like, well, that's, there's not going to be a guy who's 80 who has a 4-year-old with a Mormon lady. That's just not going to fly. Like the Simpsons writers would be like, all right, we got, we can go out on a limb, but this Larry King, the suspenders. And
Even in a cartoon world, you're saying.
No.
He could not exist.
It's amazing.
And yet,
he's got a gift of relevance, too. He's talking to anybody.
Yeah.
He's like, we're talking to the Dancing with Stars, and
It's like he either he's great at lying, or he just has this incredible source of it. Maybe he's like Darth Vader. He just has info banks, I don't know. But
oh, lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And absolute success to you always.
Thanks.
And I hope King Baby is tip of the iceberg, and we have number 4, 5, and 6 ASAP. And I wish you nothing but great success.
and congrats on the show. I got good feelings. I think this show is.
You had a good time?
It's right up this nerd's alley.
Oh, nice.
You know what I mean?
Well, I appreciate it. And it was always just about a conversation, so I appreciate you opening up beyond the sort of talk show. We've both been in that situation so many times where you have 6 minutes and you better nail it and nail it fast.
Yeah.
And so thanks very much for opening up.
It's great.
As much as you have. Jim Gaffigan. Oh, everyone, please try to stay tuned, even though I know you're dying to switch over to Comedy Central to watch King Baby, because I'm going to bring out my next guest here in a couple of minutes while Jim is being de-mic'd and de-loused on his journey home, and out to celebrate his debut tonight. That was just a peek into the inside track of possibly one of the most sought-after stand-up acts at present in terms of who you go to see and why.